Aloha and welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about high availability and restoration. High availability, it's known as HA. Availability is very important in general. This isn't mentioned in the book. It's not in our material, but you have something called a service level agreement. It's an SLA. It's usually between like a provider and a customer, and it specifies what kind of uptime, what kind of availability can they expect from your system. A lot of people talk about the different levels, like the five nines, like it's going to be 99.999% uptime, and that comes out to X number of minutes per year that it should be down at all, if at all. So there's these things are quite important. So when we talk about those responsibilities, we have to talk about concepts to maintain that high availability. And that's where we start talking about things like a single point of failure, an SPOF. A single point of failure, it's a critical business resource without redundancy or diversity. So if you've got something that you're relying on, this little bottleneck, this one thing, if that goes down, everything fails. Single points of failure are bad in general. You don't want single points of failure. So the idea of high availability is going to rely on four concepts to eliminate a single point of failure. One is resilience. That's basically your ability for your infrastructure to remain functional even when your service is degraded or there's a disruption of some sort. You've got redundancy, and that's the idea of duplicating your business resource to eliminate that single point of failure. So instead of having just one switch that could fail, having maybe two switches. And if you're talking about access to the internet, instead of just having one service provider, maybe having two. We also have the concept of diversity. Diversity means having, using different technologies, different vendors, different cryptographies. If one thing goes wrong, you've got another one, or maybe another two that you can rely on. So it's that, the diversity of these technologies that are going to allow you to make, so let's say a hack comes out and all Cisco routers get hacked. If you have a non-Cisco router in your network, then that would be, your hopefully your system would still be up and running because you have that diversity. Another thing is scalability, and we've talked about scalability, and that's your ability to, your system's ability to handle the increased demands that happen periodically. So these are the four concepts: resilience, redundancy, diversity, and scalability. We also talk about HA configurations, the high availability configurations. This is going to sound familiar. We talked about this before when we were talking about load balancers. So we've got two configuration categories. One is load balancing and one is failover. So load balancing, it's the act of distributing that network traffic among multiple devices to improve the performance and prevent the overload of any one system. So then we have the idea of failover, and that's switching automatically from a failed device to another one to keep from disrupting your service. So we talked about this too. So a device that's used for high availability is configured either as active or passive. So we've got active devices, which are the devices that are actually providing a service or function. We've got the passive ones that are lying dormant. They're just waiting to be activated in case of a fail, of another piece of equipment. And then we've got two different device configurations, which you should remember. We have active-active, and that's the high availability configuration when the paired devices are both active. Then we have active-passive, and active-passive is when one of them is active and the other one's passive, and it's waiting for a failover to happen, and then it'll switch into active mode. Then we have scalability. High availability discussions here. We talked about this as well. We've got vertical scalability, we've got horizontal scalability. So when we talk about vertical scalability, if we've got a system that can't be divided out into multiple other systems, we can increase the resources that are involved there. So we can increase, let's say, the memory or the CPUs, or we can increase the resources in that one system. So we're scaling it vertically. We're just making the one bigger. The other concept is horizontal scalability, and this is when you add more to it. And the nice thing about using cloud resources is we can automate the horizontal scalability aspect of it. So we can, and even the vertical as well. If we're talking about, if we had a virtual machine, we want to add memory to it, we could do that as well. But it particularly works well with horizontal scalability, where you don't have one monolithic program that can't exist on multiple, systems. If we have a system that's independent, we could actually create other instances of it. And then as we have more and more traffic, we can scale up more and more servers to handle that. And then as the traffic decreases, we can also, we can basically spin down those systems that we've spun up. So we're not incurring new costs with that. Um, we have important replication and recovery concepts. So replication is the process of maintaining at least one copy of data or configuration, and we call that the backup. We have recovery, and recovery is the ability to actually use the backup that we made and to recover from an event. And this is something you'll hear about if you're studying for A+, but you always need to test your process to make sure that you can recover with your backups. Because a lot of people end up finding out that, hey, we've been taking backups all along, didn't realize it was an improper backup or a different type of backup. And then at the end of the day, we weren't actually, when we did have an emergency, and we thought we had the backups, they were actually invalid. So it's important to validate that process and make sure that your backups are valid backups. So recovery is the ability to use this backup to recover from an event. Then restoration is when you've actually returned your normal network operations back to normal, from a degraded state to normal operations. So as part of this, we have a concept of geographic dispersity, and that's when you use multiple geographic locations for this process of replication, recovery, and restoration. So it can be, something as simple as, like if you have a collection of data, keep a physical, copy of it somewhere that's geographically isolated from you. Like if you had something here, then you can have something in the continent. It depends on really what you're talking about. Then we have something called the Functional Recovery Plan, the FRP. That's a set of processes that detail an organization's recovery and restoration efforts. And within that, you've got the restoration order, which tells you the order in which you're supposed to go about returning things to service. So you can have like restore your network connectivity, then you're going to restore your network security, then restore your storage services, then your critical services, then your logging and monitoring services, and then only then you restore all the other non-critical services. So that would be contained in that's your restoration order, and that's contained inside your functional recovery plan. So that's it for this section. Again, a quick recap. We're talking about high availability and restoration. We're trying to avoid single points of failure. We're looking at resilience, redundancy, diversity, and scalability to that end. And then we've got different high availability configurations. We've got load balancing and failover. We've got active devices. We've got passive devices. We've got that active where they're both working together. We've got active passive where one's working and one's waiting to be to step in when the other one fails. Then we've got vertical scalability where we increase the resources, and then horizontal scalability where we're actually adding systems to our solution and then doing load balancing. And then we've got replication recovery concepts, replication, recovery, restoration. We're working with backups there. And we also want to introduce geographic dispersity so that we can get some of that, across different areas so that we don't have, if something happens like a tidal wave hits, you don't lose everything because you had everything backed up in this one little area. And it ties into the functional recovery plan, which is the process that tells you, the process for doing these recovery and restoration efforts. And you've got that restoration order that tells you the order that you're going to be bringing things back up online in. So anyway, that's it for this section. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video. Aloha.